Christmas, 1955, snow falling outside, chrome lights glowing inside. From Betty Crocker's red and white cookbook came the promise of a flawless feast. But these dinners were more than food, they were memories, handwritten in cookbooks, whispered between generations. Picture a golden turkey roasting, nutmeg in the air, Perry Como on the radio. Then, silence, as time buried these recipes under TV dinners and convenience foods. What happened to the Christmas tables that once held America's heart? Tonight, we open the forgotten pages of Betty Crocker's 1950s cookbook to relive 15 lost holiday dinners that defined an era. The centerpiece of a 1950s American Christmas table was not simply a bird, it was a ritual. In the kitchens of the post-war era, something moved beneath the gleam of chrome appliances and the hum of the radio, a golden roasted turkey, crowned by the deep, rich shadow of giblet gravy. That gravy, made from the neck, heart and liver of the turkey, was not just sauce, it was the cipher of memory. According to the kitchens of Betty Crocker, the giblets and drippings created a broth that elevated the meal. Imagine families gathered in pastel dining rooms, fathers in suits, mothers in aprons, children restless but hushed. The turkey emerges, vapor curling, and the gravy is ladled, rich, brown, thick with flavor and history. The recipe for turkey gravy dates back to the 1950 edition of Betty Crocker's picture cookbook, offering options for thin, medium or thick gravies to match household preferences. But what we are spotlighting today is not simply that gravy, it is the combination, a perfectly roasted turkey and the accompanying giblet gravy that drifted through American homes with the promise of warmth and tradition. Yet to return to this dish is to reclaim something powerful, the smell, the simmer, the family leaning forward in the glow of tree lights. Here is how the dish told stories of togetherness, the turkey carved at the head of the table, the gravy poured slowly, nods exchanged across plates full of mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce. If you embrace this dish today, to the letter of that 1950s formula, you are not just cooking a turkey. You are reviving a shared moment of history. A toast to the past, ladled with gravy. And now, stay tuned, next we dive into recipe number 2, glazed spiral ham with pineapple rings. In the post-war American kitchen, the star of the holiday table was often a glazed ham, not just any ham, but a spiral-cut ham crowned with pineapple rings and maraschino cherries, shimmering under the room's chrome gleam. According to the kitchens of Betty Crocker, a glazed baked ham recipe featured brown sugar, crushed pineapple, lemon juice and mustard, a glaze that transformed a simple ham into a showpiece. Yet what many forget is the dramatic moment this dish announced arrival of festive gathering, the oven timer stopping, the lid lifting, the golden caramel crust glistening, and the pineapple rings arranged like ornaments. It was a recipe rooted in the cookbook pages of the 1950s, whispered in home economics classes and highlighted in magazine spreads. One collector recalls the ham glaze recipe is from my 1956 Betty Crocker cookbook. That sticky, sweet surface sealed in more than flavor, it sealed the promise of family, of abundance after austerity. It elevated simplicity into ceremony. The pineapple rings symbolized exoticness made domestic, cherries suggested childhood indulgence, and the glaze said, "This dinner matters." But as convenience foods rose in the 1960s and 1970s, the carefully carved ham slipped into obscurity, replaced by pre-sliced roasts and store-bought glazes. To revive this dish is to recapture a lost moment, the crack of carving knife on bone, the quiet stir of family leaning in, the laughter echoing over plates crackling with glaze. If you dare to bring back the pineapple ring ham, you are not only cooking a dish, you are reviving a holiday ritual. Invite the past to your table. The next recipe awaits, and its own story of flavor and memory. In the glow of the 1950s holiday kitchen, when every appliance gleamed and every child waited for Santa's sleigh, a smaller feathered hero took its place on the table, the humble Cornish game hen. Once in tree for the elegant and privileged, by the mid-century it slipped into American Christmas dinners under the guise of sophistication. One fan shared pages of the '58 edition of Betty Crocker's Dinner for Two listing roast rock Cornish game hens as the main. These little birds offered a perfect pairing of elegance and economy, ideal for a smaller household or cozy winter supper. According to the Wikipedia entry, the Cornish game hen emerged commercially in the mid-1950s as a single-serving poultry option. Picture a table dressed in tinsel and vinyl placemats, a pale pink kitchen clock ticking, Icelandic blue dinner plates bearing one golden hen each. The recipe calls for thawing 12 to 15-ounce hens, rubbing cavities with salt and pepper, roasting at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for about an hour, and brushing repeatedly with fat to achieve that bronze perfection. Beyond flavor, this dish carried a message: modest luxury. A whole turkey spoke abundance. A Cornish hen whispered refinement. And yet both proclaimed warmth and welcome. So why did this dish fade? As kitchens grew bigger and dinners grander, the tiny hen lost out to the turkey's drama or the ham's glisten. The rite of carving disappeared. Today, rediscovering this recipe is a reclamation of intimacy and ceremony. When you serve it, invite your guests not just to dine, but to step, for that moment, into the pastel, chrome-lit kitchens of a 1950s December. Let the hen be the vessel of stories, of post-war hope, of a family leaning forward in the glow of the tree. The festive table of a 1950s American home was rarely complete without a show-stopping roast, and few captured that moment more elegantly than a stuffed pork loin with chestnut dressing. Imagine it: the satin-slipped apron, the polished chrome range, the soft hum of the radio in the background. A boneless pork loin, carefully butterflied, weighed down with nostalgia, opened to reveal a warming chestnut-laden filling and tied, then roasted until its skin was golden and crisp. The dressing, rich with chopped chestnuts, onion, sage and breadcrumbs, was not just an ingredient but a symbol: post-war affluence meeting home economics precision. Although we cannot yet locate the exact page from the Betty Crocker's picture cookbook that lists this recipe, the era's cookbooks were filled with similar nut-stuffed roasts. Home economists celebrated stuffing as the culinary ritual that transformed meat into ceremony. At the moment of carving, family members leaned forward, the knife made the first slice, steam curled up, and every bite carried the weight of togetherness. But as time marched forward, convenience foods beckoned, roasts grew replaced by pre-sliced cuts, and the art of stuffing faded from everyday tables. Reviving this dish today is more than executing a method, it is an act of reclamation. It is slowing down the timer, braiding string around the loin, dressing it with sage-scented chestnuts, and sitting through the roast time as if the world were paused. You are inviting your guests into a realm of mid-century ritual, of conversation around carving, of memories layered between plates. If you prepare this stuffed pork loin, you are not just cooking a dinner, you are resurrecting a forgotten holiday moment. Prepare to taste more than meat, you will taste the warmth of another era. The holiday table of a 1950s American home demanded a dramatic centerpiece, a grand cut of beef, thick and regal, dressed for the occasion. The roast prime rib with a mustard crust did just that. It declared this dinner was special, worth gathering for, worth the ceremony. In the era of Betty Crocker's picture cookbook, first published 1950, and its many mid-century spin-offs, roast rib of beef was featured as a celebratory main for occasions when one wanted to mark the moment. The twist, the mustard crust, added a modern flourish for the time. Dijon or prepared mustard acted as a flavor base and adhesive for herbs or rubs, giving the crust an elegant edge. Picture the scene: the oven door opens, warm light spills into the kitchen, and guests pause mid-conversation. The roast, crusted with that golden mustard layer and fragrant with garlic and herbs, is carried in. The mustard layer catches the light, the aroma commands attention. It is not simply dinner, it is theater. But why has this dish faded from memory? Convenience and evolving taste shifted the focus away from large beef roasts to smaller, faster mains. Yet returning to this mustard-crusted prime rib is more than cooking, it is reviving a scene, the family leaning into the table, the carving knife raised, the roast's juices catching in the platter. A mustard crust isn't just a flavor, it is a statement of occasion. If you reclaim this recipe, you are not just roasting beef, you are setting a stage. You honor the mid-century kitchen where memories were made, where dinner was a landmark. Ready for the next vintage chapter. Picture this, a cozy 1950s dining room glowing under amber light. A silver platter sits at the center, perfectly seared lamb chops, their edges caramelized to a golden crust, gleaming beside a small crystal dish of mint marmalade. The scent of rosemary and roasted garlic fills the air. This wasn't just dinner, it was sophistication, served with a side of charm. In post-war America, lamb was the choice of refined taste. Beef was hearty, pork was common, but lamb was special. Imported flavors were making their way into American kitchens, and mint marmalade, inspired by British cuisine, became the elegant companion to this tender meat. Housewives clipped the recipe straight from Good Housekeeping and proudly served it on Sundays, often to impress dinner guests who'd never tasted anything so delicate. The secret was in the marmalade, homemade, bright, and tangy. Fresh mint leaves simmered gently with sugar and lemon, transforming into a glossy green preserve that turned every bite of lamb into a dance of sweet and savory. Served with buttered peas and whipped potatoes, it became a meal that spoke of post-war optimism, a sign that prosperity had returned, and families could finally indulge again. But as decades passed, lamb lost its place on the American table. Its distinct flavor faded from favor, replaced by cheaper, faster options. Yet, one bite of that mint-slicked chop could transport you straight back to a world where every dinner felt like an event, and every flavor told a story. So tonight, we're dusting off that memory, the scent of mint, the warmth of the oven, the laughter at the table, and reviving one of America's most elegant forgotten feasts. There is a moment the kitchen timer stops, the oven door opens, and the centerpiece emerges, a golden-browned loaf made of canned salmon, bread crumbs and milk. This was the kind of dish that whispered comfort in 1950s America, a dinner that folded affordability and elegance into one. The loaf we are about to resurrect from the pages of mid-century cookbooks speaks of quiet post-war optimism and the ingenuity of home cooks. The recipe, frequently called salmon loaf, appears in numerous vintage collections, with variations spanning canned salmon, soft bread crumbs, eggs, and milk baked in a loaf pan. The variant with a dill sauce or creamed peas on the side elevated it from weekday fare into holiday territory. On family tables with vinyl placemats and pastel kitchen appliances, it offered both ease and ceremony. Picture the scene, the loaf removed from its pan, knife slicing through the gently firm texture, steam rising. A sauce of sour cream, chopped dill and lemon slices sits ready. Guests lean in, it is not turkey, nor ham, yet it carries purpose and gathering. It signals that this meal is counted among traditions. Why did this dish fade? As fresh fish became more accessible, and as dinners leaned toward faster mains, the loaf lost its place. The loaf pan was replaced by sheet pans, canned salmon replaced by fillets. But returning to this dish is more than cooking, it is revival. It is the crack of the knife, the soft hum of the radio, the shared plate between siblings and parents. If you prepare this salmon loaf today, you are not just feeding people, you are connecting to a kitchen where every slice held hope, thrift, and togetherness. Ready for recipe number 8? Let us keep this vintage table turning. In the soft glow of a 1950s holiday dining room, the centerpiece was not simply a roast, it was a show of elegance. Enter the beef tenderloin with mushroom cream sauce, a dish that spoke of occasion, of the family gathered around the table in their best clothes, aware that this dinner was special. According to the archives of Betty Crocker, that peppered beef tenderloin with mushroom sauce was their recommended holiday main for large gatherings. Picture it, a center-cut beef tenderloin, trimmed, tied, seasoned with coarse pepper, then roasted until the meat exudes a delicate blush at its heart. While it rests, mushrooms sauteed in butter with onions and garlic, bathed then in sherry or beef consommé, thickened with cornstarch and enriched with mustard or tomato paste. That sauce, swirled over each slice, elevated the meal from mere sustenance to ceremony. Why did this dish fade? Because convenience crept in, carving rituals were skipped, and mid-century grills and casseroles took the place of the table center showpiece. But reviving this recipe is more than cooking, it's reclaiming memory. It is placing the roast on the platter, the sauce spooned slowly, guests leaning in under the glow of the chandelier. The tenderloin becomes more than meat, it becomes a statement, we are gathered. It matters. If you serve this dish today, you are not just offering dinner, you are reopening a chapter of the past. The beef tenderloin with mushroom cream sauce invites your audience to sit down, carve slowly, taste deeply, and remember that holidays once honored tradition in every bite. Step into a 1950s kitchen gleaming with chrome appliances and pastel accents, where the centerpiece is no longer turkey or ham, but a tender duckling dressed in a glossy cherry glaze. This dish arrived on holiday tables with quiet sophistication, the skin crisped to amber perfection, cherry red syrup dripping just so, and guests pausing mid-conversation as it was carried in. the cherry glaze, made from tart cherries, brown sugar, vinegar, and a hint of spice, transformed what was once humble game into celebratory luxury. Originating in cookbooks and homemaker magazines of the era, the recipe captured the post-war yearning for dishes that marked occasion without abandoning domestic ease. While exact listing in a specific 1950s edition of Betty Crocker remains elusive, many vintage homemakers recall duck with fruit glazes as holiday staples. On the menu, a glazed duck signaled a gathering meant to be remembered. Families sat upright, the table dressed in silver and china, the tree lights reflecting in goblets of cranberry juice. Why did this feast vanish from the mainstream? The shift toward bigger birds like turkey, the rise of ham with simpler glazes, and later the dominance of convenience roast squeezed out the duck's moment. Yet to revive it is to reclaim ceremony, the calculated thicken of the cherry glaze, the slow roast, the careful carving delivering slices of rich, dark meat glistening with syrup. Serve it alongside buttery chestnut stuffing or simply asparagus and buttered potatoes, and you are inviting not just dinner, but a moment suspended in time. If you choose this dish, you are resurrecting more than a recipe. You are reviving the hush when the platter is set down, the lean-in from the guest next to you, and the whisper of "this feels like Christmas again." Ready for number 10, Cornish hens and wild rice pilaf? It was the dish that whispered refinement on a 1950s Christmas table, Cornish hens with wild rice pilaf. Small, delicate, and picture-perfect, these golden birds became a sensation among mid-century homemakers seeking sophistication without extravagance. Betty Crocker herself once called them a holiday indulgence made personal, a meal where each guest had their own little roast to carve. Cornish game hens, actually a hybrid chicken breed, were introduced to American markets in the late 1940s. Their petite size and tender texture made them the darling of elegant dinners throughout the 50s and 60s. Cookbooks like Betty Crocker's Picture Cookbook and Better Homes and Gardens Holiday Cookbook featured them roasted with butter, thyme, and paprika, served beside a nutty wild rice pilaf bursting with celery, onion, and mushrooms. The presentation was regal, two glistening hens atop mounds of rice flecked with parsley and almonds, framed by candied cranberries and polished silver. The aroma alone could transport you, a buttery skin, earthy rice, the faint sweetness of sherry in the sauce. Families gathered close as each plate was served, one bird per person, an intimate gesture of abundance. Yet as frozen dinners and convenience meals took over in later decades, this charming ritual vanished. Bringing it back today feels like reviving a lost art, slow roasting, basting, plating with care. Each Cornish hen with wild rice pilaf carries the spirit of a time when holidays were about grace, not grandeur. When the meal itself was the gift. So if you serve this dish again, know this, you are not just roasting poultry, you are recreating an era where love, time, and presentation made dinner unforgettable. It gleamed like a jewel beneath the tinsel lights, a glazed ham crowned with golden pineapple rings and ruby cherries. No other dish captured the 1950s Christmas table like this one. In Betty Crocker's Picture Cookbook and countless mid-century holiday spreads, the pineapple-topped ham became a symbol of prosperity, color, and celebration. The ritual was theatrical, a whole ham studded with cloves, brushed with brown sugar and mustard, then layered with pineapple slices held in place by maraschino cherries. As it baked, the glaze caramelized, dripping down the sides in amber ribbons while the scent of spice and fruit filled the home. The glossy finish, both sweet and savory, looked almost too perfect to eat, which is exactly why homemakers adored it. For many post-war families, this ham represented more than food. It was a declaration of abundance after years of rationing, a promise that good times had returned. Magazines described it as a modern twist on old-world luxury, and no Christmas buffet was complete without it. The pineapple, then still a touch exotic, brought tropical glamour to the snowy American kitchen. So why did this masterpiece vanish? Convenience foods replaced it. Sliced ham in foil packs made the carving ceremony obsolete. But when you restore this dish, when you pierce those cloves and paint the glaze, you revive an era where presentation was love and dinner was art. Serve it warm, with its golden halo of fruit, and you will understand why this recipe graced more covers than any other. The glazed ham with pineapple rings was not just a meal, it was the shining heart of America's Christmas table. In the 1950s, no elegant holiday buffet was complete without chicken à la king nestled in crisp pastry shells. This dish, part creamy casserole and part visual spectacle, transformed humble chicken into a symbol of mid-century sophistication. With tender chunks of poultry, sweet peas, and diced pimentos, all enveloped in a buttery cream sauce and crowned with a golden puff pastry, it was both comforting and luxurious. Betty Crocker's cookbook celebrated this dish as an ideal holiday in-tree or luncheon highlight. The recipe offered home cooks a way to impress guests without demanding a full day's labor. The chicken was poached or roasted, then combined with a velvety sauce of butter, flour, milk, and cream, and seasoned lightly with nutmeg and paprika to evoke festive warmth. Placed into individual pastry shells, the dish became a visual delight. Guests admired the delicate puff crusts, crisp and flaking at the edges, revealing the creamy treasure within. For post-war families, chicken à la king in pastry was more than food, it was a statement of prosperity, refinement, and domestic pride. VintageCookbookArchive.org. Yet convenience gradually edged it out of the spotlight. Frozen casseroles and simpler mains replaced the careful assembly of pastry shells. Restoring this dish today reconnects you with a forgotten era, the gentle steam rising from golden pastry, the tender chicken melded with sauce, the faint blush of pimento and green peas. Serving it is a revival of mid-century charm. Each bite evokes kitchens glowing under chrome light, conversation around the table, and a Christmas spirit woven from both taste and tradition. Chicken à la king is not merely a recipe, it is a slice of history, delicate and unforgettable. Imagine a holiday table in 1950s America, a glimmering platter at its center, the pink flesh of a perfectly baked salmon topped with a velvety hollandaise sauce that catches the light. This was baked salmon with hollandaise sauce, a dish that bridged elegance and simplicity, offering both visual impact and refined flavor to mid-century holiday feasts. Salmon had become increasingly popular in the post-war era, particularly as frozen and canned options expanded home cooks' access. Betty Crocker's cookbooks recommended this preparation for special occasions, noting that a gentle bake preserved the fish's delicate texture while the hollandaise, a rich blend of butter, egg yolks, and lemon, elevated it from simple fare to a celebration centerpiece. VintageCookbookArchive.org. The charm of this dish was in its balance: tender, flaky salmon paired with the tangy, buttery sauce, garnished with parsley or a slice of lemon for visual drama. Families in pastel kitchens, chrome appliances gleaming, would marvel as the platter was carried in, the aroma subtly wafting across the room. The dish was as much a statement of refinement as a meal, and the act of serving it was ceremonious. Why did it disappear from common holiday menus? Simpler mains, the rise of convenience foods, and evolving tastes shifted attention away from delicate fish entries. Yet reviving it today brings back a sense of mid-century ritual. Carefully baked salmon, lightly seasoned, coated with velvety hollandaise, invites your guests into a scene of grace, tradition, and intimate festivity. Serving baked salmon with hollandaise is more than a recipe, it is stepping into a 1950s dining room, where flavor, presentation, and care defined the holiday table. In 1950s America, the holiday table was a stage, and veal cutlets with mushroom sauce was a star. Tender, lightly breaded veal cutlets, seared to golden perfection, were smothered in a rich mushroom cream sauce, creating a dish both comforting and elegant. Betty Crocker's cookbooks frequently recommended this recipe for special dinners, emphasizing that its delicate flavor and sophisticated presentation made it perfect for family gatherings or festive occasions. The sauce itself was a labor of love, fresh mushrooms sautéed in butter, blended with a touch of flour and cream, sometimes enriched with sherry or white wine, creating a velvety texture that clung to every slice of veal. Aromatic herbs such as thyme or parsley completed the ensemble, enhancing both aroma and visual appeal. Mid-century kitchens, with their gleaming chrome stoves and pastel cabinetry, were filled with the comforting scent of butter, mushrooms, and roasted veal, signaling that the holiday meal was underway. Though widely cherished at the time, this dish gradually disappeared from American tables. Its labor-intensive preparation and the rise of easier, faster main courses led families to favor simpler roasts and casseroles. Yet recreating veal cutlets with mushroom sauce today is a journey into mid-century tradition, the careful sear, the creamy sauce, the deliberate plating, all gestures of attention and care. Serving this recipe is more than cooking, it is restoring ritual and elegance. Each tender slice carries the story of a bygone era, when family, flavor, and presentation were inseparable. Reintroducing veal cutlets with mushroom sauce to your table is a celebration of history, taste, and festive ceremony. Few dishes evoke nostalgia like baked sweet potatoes with marshmallow topping. In 1950s America, this dessert-cum-side dish graced every festive table, bridging the gap between comfort and celebration. The golden marshmallows, melted to a bubbly crown, created a visual delight, while the sweet, buttery potatoes beneath offered the warmth of a homemade meal. This recipe, widely featured in Betty Crocker cookbooks and mid-century magazines, became a hallmark of Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners. Sweet potatoes were boiled or baked until soft, mashed with butter, brown sugar, and a hint of cinnamon or nutmeg, then topped generously with marshmallows before a brief stint under the broiler. The result, a caramelized, gooey top over rich, creamy potatoes. BettyCrocker.com. Families remember the magic of removing the dish from the oven, the marshmallows puffing and turning golden, as children leaned in with anticipation. It was both dessert and side, sweet and comforting, a tactile and emotional centerpiece that brought the family together. Over time, simpler side dishes and convenience foods edged this dish out of everyday tradition. Yet recreating it today is more than cooking, it is reclaiming warmth, nostalgia, and the spirit of a mid-century holiday. Each spoonful carries the aromas and memories of family gatherings, laughter, and the joy of shared meals. Baked sweet potatoes with marshmallow topping is not just food, it is history, emotion, and celebration served on a plate. Bringing it back to your table is a way of reviving the heart of classic American holiday tradition.